from this $10 microphone to a company worth a couple of billion, it's quite interesting, isn't it? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You can take everything away from me still, put me out in a garbage bag, and I'll be back. Even at my 67 years now, I feel like I'm 30. So it's a good power, but it's also weird. You're damaged from it. But it's powerful, because when you join me, you join the army. I'm not mucking around. I make stuff I want to buy though, mate. Well, I love this. Getting close to death is fun, which sounds weird. I used to love riding my bikes fast. I shouldn't be nasty. We're the 500-pound gorilla, and we're frightening. Great. I want to win. And don't tell me I can't do it.
Today we have the great privilege of having as part of our program Peter Freedman, AM, the founder and chairman of RØDE Microphones and the maverick behind one of Australia's greatest ever manufacturing success stories. Peter, thanks for welcoming us into your amazing office here in Sydney. Let's start though, if we could, where it all began and perhaps even before that with your family history. Born in Sweden in the late 50s, moved to Sydney in the mid-60s. Tell us about your family and that transition.
Yeah, so I was born in Stockholm in 58. My father was born in London. My mum was born in Sweden. And they met when my mum went there in the early 50s, started as a nurse, and they met, married. And my sister Sharon was born in 56. And then they decided to go to Sweden. My grandmother was there. And it was quite difficult for my father then. He was very technical, but not a formal education. A lot of learning difficulties, which I inherited, which was difficult for me. But also later on, I found out it was part of a superpower, if you want to call it that. You pay for everything. But anyway, clever engineer, self-taught, and but in Sweden at the time, in the 50s, incredibly xenophobic. So their whole rule was you can't get a job without a work permit, and you can't get a work permit without a job. I mean, they kept you out. And so even though I was born there, my birth certificate is British, and I'm the 56th person born in Stockholm under the protectorate of the British Empire. So how wild, right? Anyway, so he's there sweeping the snow, doing any camp, fixing toasters and radios, and he was invited by one of the people in the building there, in the apartment, to come to this company to work on the line. So he got a job and then got the permit. And he's just assembling bits and pieces in an intercom company. And it was just as they were going from valve technology to transistors, but the engineers couldn't get it right. And so my dad played around at home with this circuit, came in with it, like this guy on the line, and showed them, and it was amazing. And it became one of their biggest sellers, lasted for 25 years. They made him senior engineer. Incredible story. But the sad part of that, and I've got actually, they gave him some cufflinks, which I always wear when it's something special, and it was as a going away gift. He decided to get out on top. This was in 66. So I think he had the job probably B9, quite a long time, because he could see that technology was rising above his capability. And they didn't know he didn't have an engineering degree, and he didn't want to feel stupid. So I feel so sad that he had to pull out. But that's the sliding door thing. That's why we came. He was also working, both mum and dad worked crazy hours. I always remember them being around, but they even had a little workshop next door in Stockholm where we were. And so, mum was with us during the day, and then dad would be working. He'd come home, we'd have dinner, and then we go to bed. But then mum goes out. I mean, they work 2 jobs each. Crazy work ethic, and they're in a hurry too because of their ages. So they were working on sound equipment for the agent of Dynacord, which is a German sound equipment, still around. I think it's owned by Bosch now. And the only place in the world that didn't have a distribution set up was Australia. And we had my aunt Frida was here. She'd been here since the 50s. So it was kind of like, come Australia, come, fantastic. So they thought, it's an opportunity. We can get this agency. And Dynacord was the number one sound equipment in the world. All the top entertainers, old names. But Tom Jones was an endorsee, Donovan, on and on, all these different high-end 60s people. They were the leader at the time. So we came to Australia, sold up everything. And I remember the night we left was a kind of a funky thing. Sweden was very socialist. And in fact, 75% of the wage, I think, went to tax. But when you retired, you were like the new rich. Anyway, you had to put your house or flat in line to be sold. But there were things you could do. So we kind of sold everything. And I remember leaving and waving at night to our friends and on the train. It's just as clear as a bell for me. And then we get on a ship. We weren't the £5 bombs. They paid for it. It was called the Odyssey, 6-week trip. And here I am. I'm 7 years old, and we're seeing the world. Greece, parts of India, all the amazing stuff. But then we land in Sydney in '66, and a huge culture shock for everybody. I couldn't speak English. Thrown into school. They looking at me like, there's no teachers able to cope. I'm throwing up from nerves. Everything's bad. And being beaten up every day because I'm the only wog in school. And my mum and dad couldn't go back either. And they opened this little shop in Asheville in '67. I remember scraping the window. There's a photo over there of it with Dad in '67. And for the first year, nothing. They had some sound equipment. They weren't selling any. He was repairing toasters again and selling torches, flashlights. And so Mum and Dad we're not going to really have a Christmas, Plus, Christmas warm, we're expecting the snow and everything. So that was a bad time for them because they couldn't go back. And I remember my mum suffering terribly. She had bad panic attacks and being sick. It was really like, what have we done? And they couldn't go back. But then it turned around. The way it turned around was two things. One, we got our first sound installation at South Sydney Junior Leagues Club. And I actually got the invoice up there, which is funny. And then, as well as that, Tom Jones was going to play the Chevron Hotel, the Silver Spade Room, which is now the Icon apartment buildings. And I lived there. And bizarrely, I live in the apartment where the nightclub was, which I didn't know. I mean, this is all like crazy stuff. Anyway, so with the shot in the arm of the South Juniors, but then also the paper reviews of Tom Jones. And I remember I got a photo of me in the Silver Spade Room, seeing that Tom Jones show. I remember it clear as a bell. Even got a bootleg recording we did with a Revox under the stage. It was in the paper, but if it's good enough for Tom Jones, it's good enough for us. And it sort of pushed the company along a lot, and we did real well. Sad part was my father's age was one. That's okay, but he also had very bad heart problems starting as a young man. And so he couldn't push it. And '69 was Woodstock, so everything changed. We had the 200-watt valve PAs, column speakers. He was quite advanced, great sound. And I actually, years later, when I tried to sell to other clubs, I'd walk in and it would be an old system that my dad had installed, and I'm trying to sell them something new with thousands of watts and a mixer, and I listened to this 80-watt system and I go, it's good. There's nothing I can say. So it was a good year.
You attended Trinity. What were you like as a student? What interested you?
I only found this out recently-ish. Very bad dyslexia, so I couldn't read. Also, in Sweden, you don't start till you're 7 at any kind of schooling. But then I was interrupted. So I came here, no schooling at all. And by the time I'm 9, I still haven't gone to school. So I can't read, I can't write, I can't speak English. And I got dyslexia and off the scale ADHD, which, now it's very trendy, but it wasn't known then. So, it was pretty tough. I'm not stupid, even though I was told I was. So I managed to bluff my way through all the way through, but it's not very good for your self-esteem to do that. So in the end, with school, it really wasn't much point in high school. And I was working with my dad after school all the time. Anyway, I remember my first memory of live sound was 1963 with him. So it's all I've ever known. There's even photos of me in a bassinet in the back of the car as Mum's delivering the amplifier that Dad's repairing. So it's literally from birth.
Tell me about what you remember of the shop in Ashfield that launched in 1967.
I can picture it in my mind. I can walk through it as I can the one when we moved up the road in 69. Yeah. There was a company next door called Deering's, and they made wooden cabinets, and my dad designed these loudspeaker columns, kind of like line arrays. He was a very advanced, clever man. Love him dearly. Wish I had more time with him. And we made them. The shop was about twice the size of this office, or not maybe 1.5 times. It's a little couple of PAs, and we had some friends, or Mum and Dad had some friends, which I still know. Bob and Sonia Dixon, who were a club act, very good, beautiful singing, playing. And Bob was an engineer still. They live in Adelaide. I see him regularly. It's amazing. And they would borrow the sound system, and they would go out and play in these clubs. And then it was a way of demonstrating, and it was great. So they were a big part of it, and they were close friends. As I said, still friends now since 67. Amazing, huh? Beautiful people, like family.
Sounds to me as though your dad, or your parents, but in particular, your dad was your idol. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know. Now, I dream about him, but and think, I got to say, he died in 87. So, but I didn't have a close relationship with him. He came born in 26, and kind of an odd family too. No emotion. And all that, the era, man, that was a tough time of depression and all sorts of stuff. Plus my grandfather, 1898, my grandfather was born, and he was orphaned. He was born in a workhouse. I don't know if you know Dickens, literally, like, really? Yeah. And then was on the street as a 10-year-old selling matches. So it's kind of like, you want some damage? So that's where that comes from. And I found out some interesting things about how trauma is passed on genetically. Bizarre, huh? So you have to fight that. Not that I'm using any of that as an excuse why I'm nuts. But anyway, so Dad's very calm and quiet and just into his tech. Mum was the driver. My mum Astrid was the driver for everything we did. She pushed us to, and a tough woman, 5'2", lovely little lady. Even I was a cheeky shit as a 16-year-old saying outrageous shit. She knocked me out once. I thought it was very good. Back in the good old days, You don't slap kids. You punch them in the face and knock them out. She's in the army. Anyway, sweet woman. And I always bring that up, and I shouldn't. She wasn't a violent woman. I was just a turd, the typical teenager. But Dad and I didn't speak much. We argued a lot because you shouldn't work with your parents, I don't think. And I had my own ideas, and I was a genius as a 16-year-old, and I wanted to do large concert sound. And to do a large concert sound, it's how you take a small fortune and wipe it out completely. I mean, it's just stupidity. But he kept me under control. They borrowed no money. They did everything very tight. They just worked real hard. But I had to step up, and I didn't realize it then, but I had to kind of take over when I was 16. Which, you do anything. It's like, the kids who work in the milk bar. And I used to look at it now. I went to my first trade show. I think I was 17 in a little suitcase. Must have looked ridiculous. But I didn't think so. I thought I was a businessman. So I wouldn't do it to a kid now. But yeah, so I've seen our industry probably as if I should be 80 from what I know, because I started that young, which has helped me a lot. I've really seen it from its real beginning, and the real beginning of modern sound.
So then, as I understand it, you spent your sort of early 20s traveling and working abroad. Talk to me about some of those experiences that you had in places like the UK and China.
I spent my time mainly in Australia doing installation work. My dad, I was 29, just 29 when he passed away. And it was a shock because I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and how important it is. I thought it was a beautiful thing. They said, every time you meet a friend, you should, and you give them a hug or something, and I'm a real touchy-feely guy now, you should make sure you think about it, because it could be the last time. Yeah. So, yeah, just think about that, because it was with my dad. He was always sick. He was always going to hospital. And I remember the Friday, he said, I'm up to shit. I got to go to the hospital. And I'll see you. I'll see you on the weekend. And when I'm out with my wife, and we get a call, and he died. I'm like, what? Like that kind of shock. And the other part of what happened to me, strangely, because we moved and we were ostracized in Sweden because of the weirdness of that country then. So we weren't I wasn't a Swede because my dad was British. Then I come here, I'm not Australian. So we're always on the outside. And I also then don't learn social norms. So when my dad passed away, I didn't know what to do. Didn't cry, didn't do it. I didn't even have a funeral. It was like weird shit, man. I mean, when my mum passed away, I did it together. But what did I do? I opened the shop again that day, the next day. And they're all probably looking at me going, what's going on? Yeah. So, yeah, bit damaged, I suppose. Sort of now, I think. Yeah. I wanted to do things. He held me back. And then all of a sudden, I'm in total control. And it's the late 80s. And you can borrow money. So I did. And man, did I borrow. And it built up all these things. Didn't understand anything about business, profit, nothing. I'm a sound guy. I'm great at it. But then, and now I'm a good businessman. But I didn't know. And then, of course, interest rates went through the roof. I had a nightclub. I did some crazy stuff and earned a lot of money. And my father was still alive when I did have that nightclub, and that didn't go down too well either, because I was earning more in a month than he was taking in a year, And then as a young guy, I'm thinking I'm genius, So the bad things that have happened to me have made me a better person for sure. I wouldn't want success to hit anybody young. That's bad, really bad. So yeah, I thought I got into huge debt, and then all of a sudden, he passed away in '87, which was when the stock market crashed. Australia was immune from it in '88 because we had Bicentennial and Expo, and so I was doing club and pub installations of lighting and sound and video and all that, and that kept going. And then I have this debt. I'm bringing in lighting. I'm doing all this crazy stuff, nightclubs, really stretching it, all on borrowed money. And turning over, not realizing that profit's the name of the game. And then it stops. 1990, gone. Nothing. Zero. Everything's finished. And then it keeps adding and adding. And in the end, I ended up over $1 million in debt then. And it could have been 100 billion. That's how huge that was. I'm never going to get out of it. My father's passed away, so I'm looking after my mum. I got my sister who's got 2 children. She's also recently divorced. They're looking at me. I got my wife. I got 2 little kids. And everybody's like, what are we going to do? And I feel like the biggest fucking moron you've ever met, because I've lost the family business. I had to sell my house. And, even down to having to put stuff back on the supermarket shelf because you can't afford it. My wife had to go and borrow money from her mother to buy sandals for my daughter. And, it nearly made me go insane. So I understand how people can get so low that they don't want to hang around anymore, but you got no choice. People say, "Oh, why didn't you, stop or run away?" Like, where to? So you got to do it. But I have been odd then, yeah, for sure. And it took 8 years for me to get out of that debt, and I didn't think I would. And that's there's luck there. But the whole luck thing, there's opportunities every day, all the time, right now. It's whether you can see them and take them. And I do have that in me. whether that was taught. I'm a third generation businessman, even though my grandfather had a little wool shop in London, and my father had his shop, even the conservative, I come from just what you do. So I understand running a little business. And then I learned what it means to make a profit and be careful with costs. And yeah, but I got through it by selling things at cost. So hoping I might make it back, crazy stuff. I ended up 20 credit cards so that I could get cash, even though it's at 35, 40%, whatever it was. But if you need to do a deal, you can pull that money out, do it, and then pay it back. And so I lived on that for a long time. I managed to work out how to get credit cards. Just start small, and you pull it out and keep it and put it back in. I ended up with 300,000, 400,000 in credit on credit cards. I can teach you how to do that. Because if you need money, you're not going to get it. The only time you get money is if you don't need it. Bizarre, huh? So,
how did you get through that period? You've described it as 8 years of hell. How did you wake up every day and continue to fight?
No choice. Do you want to run away? Sure. And I did an interview with a good mate of mine, Gavin Rubenstein from the real estate. It's a lovely man, really clever, really honest. And I told him about this movie I remember seeing, which kind of spurred me on. It was called All That Jazz. And it doesn't matter what the movie's about, but this guy's trashed and does all these things, standing in the shower and like he's wiped out with a cig in his mouth and the shower's running. And he cleans himself up and he looks in the mirror and he goes, showtime. And that's what you have to do. Now, you don't want him, but you got him. And there's a power in that as well. So part of me now feels like, whether it's delusional or not, incredibly powerful. You can take everything away from me still, put me out in a garbage bag, and I'll be back. Even at my 67 years now, I feel like I'm 30. So it's a good power, but it's also weird. You're damaged from it, but it's powerful. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and I certainly not my children or anybody I love. It's brutal, but it's powerful.
In 1990, you imported 20 low-cost Chinese microphones. What happened next?
Well, it was a bit earlier than that. So actually, I've got it here. I bought this in 81 in China. I went really early, and it was very strange. I remember going to Shenzhen, and it was rice fields, and they would take you in, and there would be these friendship stores, and it was just weirder than anything. But I was fascinated. My dad taught me that too. He was always traveling. He was early everywhere, but bizarre in the 60s. He was the first, with my friends, going on an airplane, man. Dad did it. I think 5 flights to get to Europe, But so it was again in my understanding. If you're brought up to do something, well, why wouldn't you go overseas? So I bought this, and it's a condenser microphone. I think I paid $10 for it, but it wasn't what I did. So I had a room at my company where I kept samples, and it was in there. And when things went really bad, couple of major things happened. I got out of the company where we rented in Summerhill, which it was hard, and I went to Rydalmere. And it hit me hard because the business was everything. It was a family, represented everything. So that I'd let down everybody and lost the family business. Anyway, so a gentleman by the name of Colin Hill, who I'd known in the 70s, an incredible salesman in England, he came out, and I answered the phone, and he said something. I can't remember. I think we'd had a few drinks the last time I saw him in the 70s. And I think I'd said, I'm out of my tree, Colin, because I've fallen off my chair. You lose the ability to sit, right? And I just hear this thing on the end of the phone. I'm out of my tree. I went, Colin Hill. And he was here for a business trip. And we got together and had a drink. And one thing that I do pride myself in, I take initiative with things. So before you leave, I'll ask you if you want a job, both of you, because if I find good people, I do that. And so I said, why don't you come and work for me in Australia? And he went, I'd always wanted to do that. 6 weeks later, he was here. All right. So it's taking opportunities, isn't it? Like, I mightn't have said that, and he would have gone back to England and nothing happened. But he probably one of the best salesmen I've ever met, face to face. He loved people. I'm a strategist, I'm good with strategy and tactics. I don't say I'm a natural with people. I can pretend. I can do my Showtime thing, and you'll think I'm an extrovert, but I'm shy. Anyway, Colin, killer. So I brought these mics out, and I said, I can get these. I don't know if there's any sales in them. And we made an ad and came up with a name after Colin came back with it. He went out and he said, there's a lot of interest in this, because just when digital recording had started with the Elise's ADAT, which was basically a digital recorder on a VHS tape, 8 tracks, and beyond magic, man. I mean, before that we had Portadats, tape, that hissy, noisy, useless. This was digital. It was quiet. And at the time, even though it was $5,000, it's a revolution. This is the beginning of the true home studio. Now, what do they all need? They need microphones. And the top microphones, the Neumann's, the AKGs, etc., thousands. I could do this for $500 retail. And so I sent it out, and he came back. He said, these will sell as fast as a rat runs up a drain pipe. We went, rodent. Rode NT. All right? That's what, don't tell me what it is. And then I thought, let's put a slash through the O, the Danish slash, make it more European. And that's how Rode started. That's the Rode NT1. Yeah, so from this $10 microphone to a company worth a couple of billion in a lifetime, of course, because it's not fast. It's quite interesting, isn't it? I'm glad I still got the original.
And from the NT1 to the NT2.
Well, this is the other NT1. There's 6 in the series now. And how many? It's got to be 15 million out there or something. It's insane. I would have been blown out if I sold 1,000 of them. So all this is like, I hope I don't wake up, but it's not true. Yeah, but it's a long time. I mean, it's it's the evolution. Like, this is a capsule that we manufacture. This is the engine, the heart of a condenser microphone. And when I try to recreate this, because the original was made in China, and they weren't that good, and we changed the electronics. We made them good. But to make this here, I got a price from a local engineering firm to machine what they call the backplate, and they wanted $1,000. This is back in 1990. Now we make this. This is better than anything in the world now because of the precision machinery we have. And my raw cost in parts is probably under $1. But I've got $500 million in machines. But everything was stacked against me from doing it. But the other reason that we're successful now is there's no industry here. So I had to do it all myself. If all my opposition, the big companies, Shaw, Sennheiser, Audio Technica, everybody you can name, around them is everything. So why buy the machine? I had nothing. But then it became my fortress because we do it all here. So, plus I dig machines anyway. But yeah, it was, it's an interesting story of the evolution of why you walk around. I don't know if you've ever seen what we've got, but I mean, I could make a jet engine if I wanted to. We can do anything. Plus the engineers to do it, tool making, plastic injection molding, 3D printing, the highest level, everything you can think of, we've got it in-house. A $40 million plating anodizing line. And with that one, it's like, anybody tells me it can't be done, that's me going, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do it. It's like, I've got a bit of a weird thing in there. So the plating thing, I was told that's not possible in Australia. And there it is.
Where does that come from?
I want to win. And don't tell me I can't do it.
Great philosophy. So from the very first product, the NT1, you got an order of about 200 units from a place in West LA.
It was 100. Yeah. We're doing all right. And I'm traveling backwards and forwards. It's pretty tough on my family, on my wife at the time, and my children. I think my son at the time thought I was dead. And here I am walking. I've got photos of me. I was the size of a house. No money. I've got the ticket on a credit card. Have to sell something or I can't come home. Sleeping in a hotel room that somebody's definitely been killed in. Eating pizza and drinking Jack Daniels. And walking, because the transport back then in LA, because I wasn't driving. So I'm walking around, no interest. But I'm a good salesman. I can put it on, and I managed to have names of studio people I got from friends here who knew people, Record Plant Capital, A&M, all this, and they give you the time of day. You walk in with this average sort of mic, and they got the best in the world already. They give you 5 minutes, and the whole Crocodile Dundee thing was on at the moment. So I was using that, put the Aussie thing on, that's not a mic, this is a mic. I've repeated that story a million years, but a million times rather. But it worked, and then I could use the names of these top engineers when I went to other places as if they were interested, a little bit of bullshit. And I went to West LA Music, and there's a guy there, Mark Spiewak, his name was, sadly passed away. And another gentleman, I can't remember, has gone into politics. Noel Gould, lovely guy. And Don Griffin, who owned it, I never saw him. He was upstairs like he didn't exist. Anyway, I'm in there for hours pitching this mic. And at the very end of it, I plug it in and it doesn't work. It's broken. Yeah. Like, I want to throw it. But Mark said, nah, I could tell this is real. He knew enough technically. And he was into the pitch. And so they gave me an over 100. And then I walked out and crying, because you can't sell anything in America. They've got product that they can buy wholesale for less than you can buy the parts. So you got selling. That was where my understanding of the world market came in. The beauty of the check and the order was that I couldn't cash it. Like, I've got to go home to Australia. But nonetheless, I knew we got something. And from that, it started to build. We sold in Australia. We sold some mics there. And then I, with Colin, who was going around selling, great salesman, as I said, sadly passed away as well, a huge part of our business. So I could concentrate on the technical, and he could do the sales. And international, he knew the international sales. And when we set up the structure worldwide, and so we decided to do a trade booth at the show called NAMM, National Association of Musical Merchants, in Anaheim, near Disney's. And we had a booth, like about that big, next to some garbage bins and some steel drums. It was the worst. And again, freaking out because we got no money. But we were upgraded to business class. We were like, a sign. And in the first few hours, we picked up distribution for we had one mic, and people going, you can't build a business on one mic. I said, well, I'm going to. And we picked up distribution for Japan, Canada, England. It was bizarre. And so slowly, I can now roll that through over many years. It just built and built and built. And I made another one, and bought the machine. And from that, I mean, I could sit here for days telling you the evolution of how this happened. But yeah, slowly building, 36 years or something. Yeah. This is 51 years I've been working full-time in pro audio, though.
And presumably with each release, you're building more of the components in-house rather than, yeah. So tell us about the product evolution for the NT1.
We changed the companies as well. In China, they couldn't believe it. And they were good people, I must say. And I had no money. I couldn't get a loan. And the beautiful thing with China then, it was all government-owned companies. So one company I worked with was company 797. They numbered them all. 30,000 employees. They were the big acoustic thing. And there's 798 as well, but that's now an art area. This is in Beijing. And because it's not their money, and the other thing I did was they couldn't get out of China. So we'd have these delegations come where they'd want to come and check out Australia. So can you invite 20 people so they can come to Australia? And I'd look after them, drive them around, did everything. It was great. Backwards and forwards, we're doing all that. That was important to them. And so I'd owe them a lot of money. And I should have paid them maybe 90 days. And I couldn't, because, I wasn't going to steal from it. And I paid them every cent in the end. But sometimes I'd get a year's credit, because all I'd do when I was really owing them money, I'd get on the plane, go back to China, give them another order. We'd have a big party, and away we go again. So, the Chinese government funded me. Thank you. Well, you do what you got to do. The other one is if you owe people money, don't hide. Yeah. You can say, I can't pay it all, pay a little bit, and be funny. And I used to say, even here, somebody, you haven't paid me for 3 months or 4 months. I said, mate, the way I run it is I have a hat, and I put all the invoices in the hat once a month, and I pay one, take one out. I said, if you upset me, I'm not even going to put you in the hat. Just make it funny, and then pay them, and they won't shut you down. They won't be happy with you. Don't rip anybody off. And you can do it with no money.
I want to ask you about the decision, and we'll get into it shortly, but to manufacture here in Australia, particularly in the 90s as the business was expanding. You could have continued to source product from overseas and then just assemble it here. What gave you the vision to think, actually, I'll buy and use capital to actually buy machines, take
Very simple, mate, very simple. So God bless them in China. They were good people, but we woke up the world. Right? We were the first. I couldn't believe it. I'm standing there in the States, and I'm the only one there and anywhere in the world with this. I'm going, oh, man, that never happens. So even then I knew, right? And then, of course, very quickly, other people rock over to China within a year or two, and they're getting offers to sell to other people. And they started to. So, well, fair enough, as anybody would. It's not being ripped off by bad Chinese business. They're the most moral people I've ever met, the ones, and they're still solid friends over there. And China's one of our biggest markets, but they're business people. And so I thought, all right, I can't protect this because I don't control it. And that's what forced me to do it. I have to be the master of my own destiny. I have to make it as much as I can. And that's when I started working, as I said, on the electronics we could do. The capsule, that was difficult. That's real science and precision. But eventually we managed, and the bizarre thing is, as soon as we bought machines, we were doing it better and cheaper. And also today, not 3 months from now. And if I have an issue in any part of our company with a product, we've got metrology areas to check things, we fix it immediately. And it's, a Kanban, you stop, you fix, you move on. And the quality is just mind-blowing. So I am the biggest machine junkie ever. Plus, I dig the machines. We're doing stuff out of Japan, these aerospace machines. They go down to 12 nanometers tolerance. You have to have them in air-conditioned rooms. It's weapons-grade stuff. It's special. Plus, a team of tool makers and engineers and a huge apprenticeship program that I'm super proud of. And we can make anything, if you see what we got. And we start from the hand when we do our apprenticeship, really back to the old days of a file. You get to the manual lathe, and then you move over to Star Wars, and we print metal. We do everything. Truly, there's nothing I can't make now. But it started very small, very small.
And back then, and even to some extent today, being the founder of the business, how did you balance engineering, marketing, manufacturing, distribution, particularly during those high growth years as the business was really?
Well, that's I suppose, people say, well, how have you done this? I love marketing and sales and marketing, and I love the technical. So I've got that combination because we had a shop. My dad had a retail shop, and from a 10-year-old, I'd walk out, can I help you? It must have been silly. Like, where's Dad? But I learned to sell. And one of the things that changed my life was I bought a set of cassettes. It was like a training course. You remember the cassettes, And this guy called Tom Hopkins, who's still around, he looks the same, so I don't know what he's taken. But anyway, listening to these cassettes on sales, and it wasn't, people think salesmen are con artists, and it's absolute wrong. A good salesman believes in what he's doing, wants to give the customer the best thing he can and get repeat business. But there's a way to close as well, and there's a way to do this. And as a sort of 16-year-old, I learned all these things, or heard all these things, and I tried it in my dad's shop, and then nearly fell through the floor when it worked. And so one minute I'm going, can I help you? And it's not going anywhere, to this next technique stuff. And I'm nailing it. I'm 100 times my sales. I'm going, there's a science to this. And it opened my eyes to that. And so I became a great marketer. So in the beginning, I did it all. I mean, sales, marketing, the technical side, which is also my love. And of course, now I have masters of it with me, but I know enough of it. I direct the all engineering in a little way. I sit in my here and dream, but then I have PhDs and people so far above me is what I try and employ. People, I don't need another me. I want the ones. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So we're a great team, but I do know what I'm doing. You know. The only one I'm out of my depth a little bit, and I'm working very hard is AI because I've yet to find somebody who really knows it. But yeah, we're deep in that, and that's fun. And anything that I can't really understand, now you have my interest. Yeah.
What about reading trends? In 2004, you launched a product, the original Rode video mic. The podcaster USB mic is another innovation that you pioneered. The iPhone iOS mic that came out, I think, in 2013. Now, Wireless Go and all these sort of
Don't
products.
forget the Rodecaster Pro mixer.
Rodecaster
We
Pro.
made about 4 unique, disruptive things that everybody's copied. So yeah, are we proud of what we do? For sure. But it's not hard. We're not sitting there going, "Oh, what should we do?" We know what we're doing. We don't look. I don't do focus groups. I'm going to tell people what they want because I know it. I make things that I want. I can predict the future because I know this. 100%. The amount of products that we could do, man, I'll be dead before we do them. There's so many. Now we're very careful. We run a stage gate process because you can have 1,000 ideas. Which one should you do? Or if you can do 3, there's a system, no matter what you want to do. So Professor Robert Cooper started Stage Gate International. That changed my life again. And all these things are so freely available. A few bucks, you buy a book, all right? MBA, all that stuff, man, just read a few books and then get out there and do it. So yeah, we know what we're doing. And now we're funded. That's why we're dangerous. Yeah. And we're also, only the paranoid survive. We don't, we're not arrogant. I've seen, because of my life in the industry, I've seen all these big companies that I thought they will never die, and then they do. And so that's not how you do it. But I used to think, no, I know how to do it. And don't be arrogant.
I want to ask you about that because if you look at your business journey, obviously the difficulties of the 80s and 90s significantly challenged you. What did you learn during that period that has led you to such enormous success today, do you think?
Don't believe your own bullshit. Remember, anybody can fall. Don't go out to hurt anybody. Be kind to people. And in our company, like, that's big here. It's a great team. I can't remember when somebody was fired last. We're very careful who we allow to join. I don't do that anymore and get involved in hiring, but I know what's going on. And I used to say to people and give them a job offer, and I said this recently in an interview. I always say, well, okay, I'm going to offer you the role after we've scoped it out properly, because a lot of times when you do the other way, people walk in and you make up your mind 5 seconds. You say you don't, but you do. No, scope it out and you end up with 20, 30 things, and then you log it and then go, didn't think that person was right, but it is. And then afterwards I go, here's the thing, you can't say yes, you have to go home, you have to think about it, because when you join me, you join the army. I'm not mucking around, and I'm going to be super loyal. And there's a lot of things with that too. Your family is number one. If you're working for me and you had some problem with your family, you don't even talk, you just go. All right? We all know what the rules are. After that, you come back and you work your ass off, and we're together, and you will be rewarded. It's simple stuff, man. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
You've said vertical integration saved Rode. What do you mean?
Backwards vertical integration. Yeah, that's being able to make everything in-house, all the engineering. But again, people now come to me and they want to use Rode as an example for Australian manufacturing. I go, yeah, okay, But it's a lifetime, man. You're not going to turn it on overnight. And people, we all want quick results. So if I say, yeah, sure, no worries, 35 years, you ready? They go, no. Well, 51 years for me. But it's my life, so I'm not going on 51 years. Well, like I said, I feel like I'm 30. I wish I was. Got so much to do. Feel pretty good, though.
And to what extent has that then created a barrier for entry and a moat around the business? You've got 600 mil worth of equipment.
This is our fortress, mate. But again, don't be arrogant. Like all the machines that I have, and I love history, and you see all the companies going back as far as Industrial Revolution, whatever you want. If you have a huge investment in some technology and something new comes out and people say, all your millions, hundreds of millions of machinery are no longer relevant, then I'll dump them and I'll go to the new stuff instead of going, I got too much invested in it. I'm not going to be a Kodak, or other companies who had MP3 players and went, we make, music. We don't. Come on. And AI is one of those things, and it surprises me how few people know what's going on at any age. I'm stunned. It's that old thing about people who make things happen, watch things happen, and wondered what happened. Most people are going to wonder what happened, and it's fast. This is like the creation of the wheel or harnessing fire. It's not like a normal thing, and it's going to affect the rich are going to get richer, and we are looking at a scary dystopian situation, which frightens me. So, but are we in? You better believe it.
What about growth, organic growth versus growth by acquisitions? You've done both. How have you known when to pull the trigger on each?
Acquisition growth, if you don't have the money or time, is madness. And I did that, and that killed me back in the day. So it's not just money. Like we've bought two major companies. We built up RØDE to be, the biggest in the game, and we bought two amazing brands, Mackie, which it's the same, started kind of when RØDE started, and in the late 80s, and Greg Mackie is a friend of mine, a genius. And I quote him many times, like, he who tools rules, and he's a genius. But they became so big in the 90s, and then they listed and got a lot of money. And like I did, young people, you don't know what you don't know, and bought a lot of companies. So, and it became a problem, and listed and all that. So it's not the money. I have money now that I could go and buy another company, and I get approached once a week, and they're exciting, some of them. And you cannot do it because you can have money, but you run out of this, and so does your staff. And without the time, the bandwidth to do it properly, man, a kiss of death. Forget the money. You're going to screw it up. So we're at our bandwidth limit now, but we got 3 killer brands and a couple others on the side, and that just consumes me with excitement. The things we're doing, Mackie has got such a great brand name. And if you're talking AI, what's not going to disappear? Live music. It's going to get more. I want to see the people playing live. All right? It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Plus, it's where my heart is anyway. It's where I started, live sound, designing speakers, mixing consoles. And the stuff we got coming, I kind of in-house, it's Mackie's back. And I have a huge ego, so that's like I said, I want to win, and the team involved as well. I mean, it's not. I'm the figurehead, and I get involved, but man, I've got a massive team over in Seattle, and it's their lives as well. And I've told them all, and it's true. All of you are going to be, your faces and your names are going to be when we launch this new series of stuff, and it's going to be you saying, "This is the best I can do." That's a motivator, isn't it? It's a motivator for me. So it really is that, okay, money, we need it. But this is also about what you do in life. Yeah. So that's how we run it. And then Electrosonics, another one. I'm so honored to be involved with these people. The technology they have, it's jewelry. And I stopped even thinking about trying to get to that level of UHF wireless. There's no magic in electronics. My like Dad always said to me, there are no gremlins, there's no magic, but there are specialist techniques, and the narrower the area, the more specialist it gets, and it can be a lifetime to gather those skills and techniques. And so I gave up, but then this became available. In fact, we approached them to this is what I love about opportunities. Anybody listening to this, you go, oh, the opportunities are back in the day. Bullshit. They're every day. It's whether you pick them and go for them and can judge it. So we contact them. Would you be interested in working with us to manufacture some UHF that we want? This is only recently. And yeah, they were, and we talked. And then they said, so would you be interested in possibly acquiring us? And we're like, excuse me? So pretty quickly, we did our due diligence, and man, and the people are everything. And it brings a tear to my eye to go there. Like the place is incredible. The people are amazing, but the COVID hit them, writers' strike, actors' strike, you name it. If it's just one hit up, they're at the top end. This is the absolute Formula One of wireless, and spectacular. I used to carry them around. I got them at home. It's jewelry. It's incredible. So for us to turn it around and fund them and double the staff, and hey, people, we had a party. It was like 150 people, I suppose, and they're coming up. And people have been there about 30 years. Thank you for not firing me. I'm crying, they're crying, and I'm going, I remember when Made in America meant something, and we're going to bring, man, it's awesome, because Australia and America, we are closely tied, and I feel like without the US and without China, all these people, I wouldn't be where I am, and so there's a lot of emotion in there. But I'm going to help these good people to show what they can do again. And then, of course, we're going to use that technology, and there'll be Mackie Live Wireless, and there'll be RØDE Creator UHF. And so we'll all share, but they're all independent people. But you can tell, how good is that, man? Huh?
And how do you integrate the cultures, or what do you look for in the culture of an organization?
As I was saying before, culture is everything. So if I went there and they were weird, they're not going to work. I don't care what tech you got. It's not going to work. It's like, this is, it's like any relationship. And I think that's why I hardly should speak about it, but I think personal relationships fail because we don't think about it enough, and we don't scope out who we should be with, or who you are, but I do now. With companies. And being upfront and honest and saying what you feel. It might be confronting, especially in America. And I'm not having a go at US business, but there is a lot of people who are kind of brutal to staff. So they're not used to being well treated. So it's refreshing for them. And they're kind of getting used to the fact that, no, we're not going to hurt you. And we are honest. They're loving being part of an Australian company. Yeah, Australia's got a lot to offer. Plus, we punch above our weight. Anybody Australian, seriously, be proud of. You look back at the history. We're formidable, man, and we have to be, because we're the little ones. We've got to work harder. Yeah, you think about all the bands who've made it. Drop AC/DC out there. Little local band I used to go and see at the pubs and stuff. We work harder. We have to work harder. Whereas you can be kind of a average failure in the States and still make money. Can't here. You'll be starving. So yeah.
One of the things that fascinates me about you is the importance that you place on design. You're obsessive about design. You've said design is not just about aesthetics. It's a critical driver of innovation and economic growth. How do you ensure that design thinking goes right into RØDE's product suite right the way through?
Yeah, design thing, I'm part of the design council, and I had Sam Buccolo, genius, a master of it, and we have a big, very, very strong culture here in the education area, and so I learned a lot about it a long time ago. It's not just how something looks, So we use it everywhere, and I encourage everybody to understand how design, it's just one word, but find out what it is. It's everything. can change your life and your business. All right? You apply it. There's a systematic way of doing it in everything you do. Every part of the product, how it's going to be used, everything. And of course, the way it looks. I want every product, you must look at it before you turn it on. You just want it. That's a given. But then it must also make your life easier. And that's what I always, with that Rodecaster Pro, which is a revolution. It's for absolutely so low money, we've changed the world in broadcast. It's a complete radio station in a box for $500, $600. I mean, it's madness, right? And that came from somebody saying to me, "I'd like to do a podcast. What gear do I need?" And I said, "I need a mixer and a cart machine would be good for jingles, and you need a recorder." And I was stacking up going, "You can't do it. You don't have the understanding." And then I thought, "Oh, hang on. I could take away all that and put that in there, and it's all hidden. You don't even know what I'm doing, and anybody can use it." And we started having young kids look at it, children, and if they couldn't get it running quickly, or somebody's wife who doesn't care, run it within a few minutes, it's not right yet. Then if you were into the granular, you can go in it because it's digital. But man, that was a hard project, and we have done so much updates. It's a full-on computer inside it, and now it's so funny. Quite a few copies came out from big companies, and they've all given up because now they know to beat it, it's just not worth it. Yeah, that's I don't know if that answered the question. I go off on tangents.
No, it's good. Tangents are good. We like tangents.
I make stuff I want to buy though, mate. It's pretty simple. I love this.
What about research and development? You said you don't do sort of focus groups and things. How does that aspect of the business work?
When I say that, we do have a huge group of people. Creators is a big area for us, and of course now with the live, so there'd be quite a few hundred people who under NDAs, and we use them to check things that once we've done it. But we don't sit there going, "So what do you want?" That old apocryphal Henry Ford thing. If I had asked that, they would have said a faster horse, even though he didn't invent the car. But yeah. So, but will I definitely come up with what I think, and then we get our early stage to those who use it. There's no point me coming up with a camera, which I'm working on, and then handing it over to a cameraman without ever asking him, "What do you reckon?" That would be insane, wouldn't it? But I'm not going to come with something that's half baked. It's going to be pretty cool, and then we start talking. But the core of it, we know where this is going. And we now we can make a television studio, or you're doing it yourself, a radio station, television, whatever you want, for a couple of grand, where it would have been $100 million when I was young, and you're not going to do it. Off air, who gives a shit? Like Mr. Beast. He used to say, I think I've heard him say, people would come to him and they go, "I'd like to join you so that they can eventually go to," no. This is the end game, pal. Right.
What about leadership? How do you look at it? How do you define it? What's your approach to it?
Respect for everybody. And jokingly, people here, they join and, "Oh, Mr. Freedman," I go, "Oh, that'll get you fired. It's Peter," but respect of everybody. That's a big one for me. And if as it gets bigger, I've got 1,000 people and it'll keep growing. It's hard to make sure that you don't end up with any little sort of fiefdoms, people trying to. Nah, I don't think we have it. And I try to look to make sure people are happy. Just respect and be kind. It's like, remember, I really like, I don't know him, Stephen Fry, genius, the acronym. And he said when he went, I can't remember even where uni he went to, but he said the Don there first met him, he said, "Oh, welcome. Just remember, don't try and be clever while you're here. We're all clever here. Try and be kind." And I went, "Yeah. But we work hard, not mucking around." So, but yeah, respect, kindness, and other things. I keep learning. If you don't you keep learning till you die. little things. I heard it. I think Bezos does it. Not that I don't know him at all, but in a meeting, so they start and they all have to produce this one-page doc, and we all read it in the room. Forget this preparing for a meeting. It's just too hard. 1,000 so read that. And then I want the junior to talk first, because the minute I open my mouth, they're not going to contradict me, are they? So, be careful. Otherwise, what's the point? Well, what are you doing? Everybody is involved. We're all here to make something and be proud of and share it. The other sharing is like, okay, I own it. I own the whole lot. I get the lion's share. I should. I risked my whole life. I worked my whole life. But I am really happy to share a lot to people who put their life into this. And I got one guy's been with me for 38 years. 20 years is nothing. 10, no. And we will look after you if you commit to that. Sometimes if it's a young person, and if we do apprenticeship, I don't want them to stay either. Somebody joins them, they're 17, and they got to go somewhere else afterwards. I gotta push them out of the nest. But it's really cool, and I get pride out of it. If somebody's done their term, like their apprenticeship, and that's a dying thing. But if they've done their apprenticeship in our tool making area, they're in demand, because you did it at RØDE. Because man, you go from ideation to ship, and everything in between. That's unique. That's a skill. And each one of those people could then become the head of a division or start their own company, manufacturing. They've seen it can be done. So, man, I'm super proud of that. Man.
I think that's one of the most remarkable things about the business here, is that every stage of the 7 stages is done in-house. The distribution, the sales and marketing, the manufacturing, the design, the tool making, all of that. When you look back on the journey, did you ever think any of this would be possible?
No, never planned it. Still blown out. And I'm trying to be more in the moment, because I'm always had to be about tomorrow, but I am now getting better at here, because right now it's all we've got. Can't do yesterday, it's done. And how do I know if I'm here tomorrow? I don't know if I'm repeating myself. I think I might have said to you before, but just when you meet your friends or something, and you give them a hug. Did I say this before? You remember that it could be the last time. I heard that the other day, and I thought, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, for sure. So it is cool, and I have huge plans, and I'm excited. It's not about money anymore. It's just about doing the best I can and having this great team of people with me, and showing myself and other people that you don't have to be this ruthless maniac to build something incredible. Now, we are tough, and there's probably some nuttiness in me with it, but we're very good people too. You don't have to be horrible. Just don't be in competition with me.
What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? I love when I see my daughter. She lives in London, and my grandson and my granddaughter Lily. It's beautiful. I mean, also I did an interview, and I like little kids. The sound of little kids laughing it's a really lovely sound, right? So there's a school near me, and some people bitch and carry on about the noise. I don't get it. To me, it's like open the windows. When I hear them running around playing, it's just a beautiful sound. Sunshine. Getting close to death is fun, which sounds weird. I used to love riding my bikes fast. I don't do it anymore because it's super dangerous and I'm too old. I love that thrill just to get. I got one really old car that's open, and it's safe, but I love things that are really hard. Yeah. If it's not, like any hobby, I'm into collecting Japanese swords, and what I love about it is I'll never learn anything about it because it's so deep. So things like that. I need to push myself out of my comfort zone. Even buying companies like that, like it's frightening. Like you've done it. Now what? Now you got to make it work. That the party was the easy part. Now make it work. I'm energized. I did find something really strange the other day, though. I found out you can be too happy because we got such a rush, the whole team, and we were so happy and so excited for a really long period of time. And then we burned up all the chems and then we all crashed. I went, I even got like a small flu from, so don't be too happy.
What does it take to be successful?
A drive to win. Yeah. If you're too comfortable, I think, yeah, you won't push yourself. And fear. You have to risk. Risk is uncomfortable. It's frightening. But now I suppose I'm addicted to parts of risk. You have to learn that. Yeah. But if you're brought up, I can see it, if you're brought up in a very stable home environment, and let's say your family's quite well off, life's really, really good. Where's the push? Where's the drive going to come from? It's probably not going to be there. And an aversion to risk. I know many people very clever from, the accounting firms that I deal with, and PwC. I'll give them a shout out. Amazing, amazing people. My team who travel with me when we do these things. Yeah, top of the tree. But some people, even in those big companies, and they're doing very well, but they are risk averse. Also not in control. I can't be fired. I can ruin it myself, but I can't be fired. So you weigh up everything. But yeah, what drives the ego? The rush of risk, wanting to win. It's not money. I thought it was. And I heard the other day, because I mentor quite a few people, this whole money porn thing does my head in, and I'm getting better with it as well. I still have a lot of insecurity. I'm getting better with that, and now because I've got this so-called wealth, I get hit up 20 times a week for money, so I feel like a walking ATM, and it started to hurt me, but then I get it, so it doesn't hurt me anymore. But I'm pretty quick to say, sorry, no, I got my charities, and I'm very happy there, and that's where the bulk of when I drop dead will go to. Because with family, you want to give your family, I love all these sayings, you want to give your family enough to do something, but not to do nothing. Yeah, you've heard that. And Jimmy Carr, the comedian, I heard him say the other day, what's being rich? Rich is if you had more money now and it wouldn't change your life, then you're already rich. And there's not much. So stop all this, you need 50, 100, 200, but what for? What are you going to do with it? But it's like this drive. We're told the social media thing of all this stuff that's being thrown down kids' throats is wrong. It's sad.
You travel a lot, clearly, for work and no doubt for leisure as well.
Not for leisure, no.
Just for work. When you look at Australia, how is it placed relative to other countries around the world? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges?
Best place in the world. Nothing beats this country. Nothing. I get homesick very quickly. A week, maybe 10 days, and I got to get back. But because we've got so many natural resources, etc., we're not hungry enough, I suppose. Lucky us, eh? But we do have to be careful. But the biggest threat coming, not just to Australia, to everyone, is AI, as everybody says. But it's also one of the greatest things in the world. What it'll do for people who are vulnerable, medical, psychological care, all this, and I do a lot with that area because my heart goes out to vulnerable people, and so that will be great. But there's going to be a lot of pain where, and who knows, but so many jobs are just not needed. So what do they do? And okay, universal income, so what? People need purpose in their life. Now, it'll be after me, but I'd be any young person now, I would definitely be saying, well, there's the service industry and there's handmade things and music and all those things. That's not going to stop. Like with a friend of mine yesterday, we're sitting having a lovely meal, and that will be the same in 40 years' time. I don't want a robot come, even though that happens in Tokyo. Open the door, there's my little room service. It's not going to happen in a restaurant, man. It's going to be somebody coming up, there'll be a sommelier, there'll be food. Nothing's going to change. And we will gravitate towards more of that. But it'll be so good in so many ways, and I have no idea any other. Nobody does.
What about the future of this business? You've fielded approaches over the years from private equity groups, which you've knocked back. You've spoken daily. You have spoken about potentially listing the business on the ASX.
Man, I don't know. 1 minute I'm doing this, next minute I'm doing that.
What are you weighing up?
The biggest fear for me is control. We're great at this. I can't have anybody join the company as a partner, let's say, who then decides to come with great ideas. I don't need your great ideas. My team knows how to do this back to front. Anybody I let in the future, and it will have to happen because it's getting too big, will have to do the investment, and I can guarantee you, with lots of protection, you're going to do very well. But you're going to get out of my way, and I'll show you how it's done. And we'll have this time period. Now, some people in that area, they don't like that. They like to, and I get it. You come along and you put a big, if I invested in the company in a big way, I'm going to have my face in there. So I get it. It's not going to work. We know what we're doing. My CEO, Damien Wilson, 17 years, master, counting people, everybody. We're great at it. The team's killer. Nobody can come in and start saying they're going to add value by showing us how to do it. The only thing you can add is some cash.
Outside of work, you've got, so much has been written about Kurt Cobain's guitars.
Well, that's in London at the Royal College of Music right now.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well.
So that was one. You've got Don Bradman's Baggy Green up there, Michael Jackson's Grammys.
I have a warehouse 2 streets down the road that I'm embarrassed to show you, full of random shit worth a fortune. And as I said, I'm embarrassed about it because I went through a stage because I haven't had money, and all of a sudden I got some money, and then I started buying things, but it was filling a hole that buying things doesn't do. Now, poor little rich man. Okay, it's bullshit, but I don't want any more, and it doesn't make you feel good. Working on new products, seeing success in others. Oh man. That's what makes me feel good. Helping others. I love it. Nothing touches it. And then thinking about tech, when I start looking at the tech we're working on, you'll see a different, I start talking 100 mile an hour. That's it. And these are all cool stuff. And art and all the rest of the things I buy, but so what, man? To me, it's nothing. And I'm only you're only the temporary custodian of this stuff anyway. I'll drop dead in it. That's why I'm also making a point of, I gave the guitar to the Royal College when I was there just recently, because why should I have it? Why should anybody have it in their lounge room? So now it's going to be there for whatever is, and we'll tour it around the world. And I'm very proud of the association. Some great people there. James Williams, the director, and Lord Black, the chairman. Great people, and we're going to do things around the world. I've got Australian Commonwealth Scholarship. I put 3 people started through at the Royal College, and they're the 4th time in a row the world's #1 music school. Man, it's amazing. So wow, what a privilege. And you see these young people that I'm paying to go to this incredible place, and I just say to them, because they're so happy and thankful, I said, do me a favor, just try, you do the same thing to somebody else one day, will you? And make somebody else's miracle happen. I did it about 6 years ago. This little school in Lancashire messaged me about getting a couple of wireless mics for cheaper, and then they were telling me it's a school for kids with hard hearing difficulties and stuff. Anyway, so they've also looked at their fundraising thing, and it's 50p here and there. And I thought, so I gave them £5,000, said I'd match anything else, and they fell off their chairs. Why? What? I'm saying, because I'm going to show you miracles can happen, but I want you to do the same to somebody else. Man, what does that mean to me? More than any buying shit.
Final question: what's next that you want to achieve? What's still left in the tank?
Oh, man, I've just scratched the surface. There's so much. Truly, I feel like I've just begun. But now we're funded, and I've got the team, so we can do it. It's no longer, I wonder if this will work. I know it'll work. We just have to not make mistakes of doing too much at once, finishing. But yeah, we're in a great position. And that's why I say, said to you beginning, a lot of the things I talk about now, you can't do when you start. There's no point me talking about how I run the company now. When I was sitting on a milk crate with a dog, 2 people, and a hammer, oh, well, that's just start up, let's talk. And then all the way along, and same in your business, all those stages, right? Now we're sitting there going, oh, well, it's 100 million and free. What's the point of that for somebody kicking off? None.
Do you still think every day about being in the back of your father's shop, starting the business, being in debt? Does that still come into your mind?
It'll never go. And I can close my eyes and walk every part of those buildings. And so, yeah, you know, it's like anything. It's and all the things that I've never gone out to hurt somebody intentionally. I have, and so, but regrets against yesterday. Can I win now? And I can try and be a better person. So any of those things are like a big cut on your arm. Your scar heals, doesn't hurt, but you'll see it forever. So yeah, there's damage, but everybody's got it, man. Not alone. You talk to anybody and ask their story, and out comes life. So
I forgot to ask you, competitors. How do you look at them? How do you evaluate them?
how do I look? I shouldn't be nasty. We're the 500-pound gorilla, and we're frightening. Great. Most of the competitors, of all of them that I can think of, are big companies with big boards and all these reports, and so we're nimble. And again, this comes down to how the company should remain. We can sit in the room here this afternoon, we'll be, and we'll talk about something. We go, you know what? Screw it, let's do it. What's his name? Yeah, I do anything I want. The power of that with money and experience. Oh, that's formidable. Yeah. Whereas if you do have the big corporate structure, you miss out. You miss out a lot. I don't underestimate them. There's some of these companies that are incredibly efficient, great technology. We never underestimate them. And what we do is you're not allowed to come in and go, everybody's shit. Oh, no, they're not. And when I make a product, I say, right, now we must all sit around and pretend we're them. What are you going to do? We try and guess what our opposition is going to do. We're not arrogant, but we're powerful. We take this like, the art of war. Yeah, strategy, tactics, for sure. And it is war. We're a formidable competitor.
Peter Freedman, AM, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for your
Thank you.
time.